What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Extraordinary Men Podcast. This is your host, Mike Jones or Phil Jones, however you know me personally or professionally. You all know the greatest co-host the world has ever seen. Please introduce yourself.
The one and only, man. The one and only. It's Midas. Make sure you put a king in front of that. Let's go.
All right, all right. Just two all rights. I'm not trying to get hit for copyright infringement.
I
All right, so
think it's all right. And
yeah,
then you
but it's
gotta
like you get
and then
tempted
you
to
gotta
do
add
it.
the yeah.
But you get tempted to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but if you're watching this podcast, you are going to learn today.
Hmm.
So let's get into it. Let's go how high, shall we?
You mean
Oh,
like you mean like get high, study high, get high scores like that?
I mean, like, let's have a conversation about what we do while we
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
What it's more than just motivation. You know, I think that what happens oftentimes is that we as men, we get to a place in our lives to where we are just led into a direction to just go someplace or just do something. And we don't necessarily know what that thing is or what that motivating factor is, but we just we just feel it. We know it's time for us to do something. We know that there's a greater purpose or a greater bounty on us. And we get to a place to where we finally just like what I'm currently doing ain't enough. Either that or I guess you say for lack of better terms, when you get to that place to where you hit that ascension from boyhood to manhood and you're ready to start taking that walk into something greater than what you're accustomed to. You know, I sat back and I was doing a little bit of an audit of my life, and I was thinking to myself about how I guess for I could consider myself to be a late bloomer. In some respects, you could say better late than never, but I can respectfully consider myself to be a late bloomer. Like a lot of ideas, a lot of the thoughts that I've had have been very grandiose in theory, but the work ethic wasn't there. The desire to push through wasn't there. Certain psychological components of pulling myself from what I wanted to do to what I needed to do, they just didn't directly align with one another. And now when I see myself current day and I look at how much more that I get done in a small period of time, it's almost effortless in comparison to what my output used to be 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So, what I'm trying to understand is, and what I want to help the viewers understand is, why do we do the things that we do? When do we get to that place that we make a decision that it's time to do more, that it's time to ascend into a higher version of ourselves?
Um, I would say that there's actually a magnitude of faucets that would, constitute a man moving in the direction that he's moving in. And one of them simply because he simply just has the calling. He just feels it. I don't care what nobody say. No one knows what that feeling is, man. Like people are drawn to certain things. It's a magnet. They pull towards it. And they really hone in and zero in and focus on that path to do that thing. Other things could be, typical stuff. Becoming a dad. You know what I'm saying? Man, you know what I'm saying? I got a shorty to care for. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get it in gear. For those of us that are actually, mature and real men, I should say, that this type of mindset, what I'm saying, starts to become of you. And then it could be, enough is enough. Like I'm tired of the check to check. I'm tired of this apartment. I'm tired of this townhouse. You know what I'm saying? It's time to it's time to elevate. I'm tired of driving this. I want to drive that. I'm tired of walking in these. I want to walk in those. I'm tired of dressing like this. I want to dress like that. So I mean, it's just a magnitude of things. So why men start to do what they want to do or start going down the path of doing that thing that they want to do. Status. money, fame, women. I mean, the list goes on.
So I want to touch into something real brief, and I'm going to play a clip of something,
hmm
and I'm going to tie directly into this. And I'm pretty sure that many of you guys who follow social media or several other outlets, we all know Michael B. Jordan, Creed 3. We know this guy, highly famous. Saying the Lori Harvey saga, whatever have you. I'm about to play a clip of something. I want you guys to watch this clip because it's been a center of controversy for the last week. And it's going to tie directly into the subject matter because I want to come from a specific angle, and this is something I want to talk about in this episode. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
We go way back all the way to Chad Science in Newark, okay?
Corny kid, right?
No, I did not say that. Misquoted for sure.
Michael B. Jordan calls out a former classmate for making fun of him, and it is awkward.
Oh, why y'all trying to start drama over here?
The whole thing went down on the red carpet at a screening of Michael's flick Creed 3 in Atlanta, after he was approached for an interview by L'Oreal, the host of the Morning Hustle show, who reminded him they grew up together.
And we know each other. We go way back all the way to Chad Science in Newark, okay?
Corny kid, right?
No, I did not say that. Misquoted for sure. No, you did not hear me say. I said we used to make fun of the name, but yeah, he is obviously killing things out here.
Yeah, so that corny comment comes from a 2021 episode of the Undressing Room podcast, where L'Oreal, her co-host Eva Marcille, and Dominique DeDiva talked about the actor.
I think that Michael B. Jordan is just like a nice, corny guy. And I don't mean that as a slight, right? I mean, we all know that the nice, corny guys treat you the best.
To be fair, it was actually...
So, what'd you get from that?
I got an underdog story. Everybody roots for the underdog. It kind of reminds me of an Andrew Tate situation where he was the corny guy, the one getting embarrassed and all that, and then he decided to flip the script and become somebody. He built himself. He focused on himself. He built the career, got his money up. Yeah, the stigma of the nice guy, But that's what I got from it, man. It's just the underdog, coming up.
Consequently, when you sit there and you look at situations like that, I think that what happens is that when we start looking at situations to where men and women and how we're treated coming up, how we're looked at, how we're ridiculed, how we're judged, oftentimes can serve as an extreme fuel for us to decide that we want to be a little bit more, be way more. And I definitely think that having underdog status in society, not being part of the cool kid, not being the athletic ones, not being the ones who can dance, not being the ones with all the confidence, or coming from the lower income situations where you don't have access to a lot of money or resources. I think that sometimes, in a lot of cases, really, our upbringings can determine a lot about what motivates us or what drives us to go as hard as we do for the things that we desire, or what sits in the back of our heads. Like, for the person who grew up without a father, being a father means so much to him that it's like, I won't abandon my children the way that my dad abandoned me type deal. Or because of the fact that my parents gave me everything that they could give me, but they never taught me about credit. They never taught me about finance. They never taught me about the importance of how to use loans or how to leverage credit. They always showed me if you don't have the cash, you don't have the credit. But they never showed me about how to properly use these tools because they didn't know themselves.
Right.
So where there's a level of, I guess you could say, generational ignorance and stuff, that sometimes when you start learning things that your parents weren't able to teach you, it could lead to a sense of resentment, and it drive you either in this direction or this direction. Or when you start learning things and you get excited about the things that you're learning and you want to share with everybody, and then you realize that most people that you talk to are closed off to the ideas that you bring to the table. And sometimes that's like, you guys are too small-minded. I got to get out of his room.
That part. I definitely went through that, trying to build up and push and promote and, you know what I'm saying, motivate and, man, let's do this and woo woo woo. Man, that is exhausting. It's exhausting, dude. You ain't doing nothing but wasting energy, time, breath that you can actually tell somebody that you love them for the last time. Don't do it. Don't do it.
You know, so when we look at this in regard to us as men and why we do the things that we do, I think that a lot of the case with us, and I'm just speaking on the immediate circle, is that regardless of the walk of life, there was always something that was missing. There was always something that we felt like that's not it. If you mean to tell me that quality of life is predicated on getting up, working somebody else's job, and then dying, but I basically worked my entire life just to pay off a house, have a couple fluctuations on some cars, a few vacations, and I basically just worked myself in and out of debt until I was 65, 70, or however long I'm graced to live. That is the American dream. That's what we're working for. You think about it. Again, average college student. Let me look at some statistics real quick. Average age of.
And I get what you're saying, Ashley. Like children, parenting or children, then turn around and teach parents what they didn't know growing up, and it's a good side and a bad side to that. The good side is that, again, since we are in a more technological world, you do get that opportunity to now, you know, saying, keep your parents updated and abreast of the new technologies and how to use stuff, and, you know, help them along, you know, saying, so they can be able to conduct through life properly. The flip side of that is, at that time that they were growing up, knowing that they had children, that it was their job to do anything and everything that they could to try to get as much information as possible, especially when it came to finances. If they didn't give you nothing else, they should have at least gave you finances, for sure, to be able to get out here and conduct properly, and to invest properly, and know what credit is and what CDs are, and all of that. Like, they definitely should have at least prepared you that way.
Well, I want to quote this real quick, right? Because of the fact that when we're young, we have very, very grandiose ideas about what it is that we should be doing or what we could be doing. But I'm going to read to you a statistic.
Mm-hmm.
And this is given off of mpamag.com, dealing with the mortgage industry. And it says, in the United States, first-time home buyers are on average 33 years old. The average age of home buyers overall is 47. These numbers are drastically higher than when data was first taken in 1981. A lot of us in our young years don't even realize that we are fighting to overcome odds that we're fairly on par for in reality. When you say the average home owner is 47 years old, first time home buyers at age 33. I'm 37. I'm not too far off the bell curve.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, I'm not that far off the bell curve. So for somebody like yourself, for somebody like Marvin, who already are homeowners, we're
Mm-hmm.
not too far off the bell curve. When you really think about it and you root certain things in reality, a lot of, and this is the reason why I give that 18 to 28 example that I always talk about, is because all of my debt, my financial irresponsibility, my emotional chaos, and everything that I had to pull myself out of in my 30s are all things that I acquired between 18 and 28. All the baggage, all the jumping in and out of pseudo relationships, if that's what you want to call them. All of the messing around with credit, getting my identity stolen, not being fiscally responsible, the drinking, the smoking cigarettes, all the foolishness that I took part in, the massive abuse of my body by drinking and drinking and drinking all the time and never eating healthy food and, ramen noodle diets and stuff like that. A great deal of things that were happening between the ages of 18 and 28.
Mm.
So by the time I started that, I think if I'm not mistaken, I took my first management position. It's 2023, 2015, about 8 years ago. Yeah, about 28, 29. The logic that I had early on, which was a very young boy mindset when I look at it, was I never wanted to be a manager, although I've been offered to be management for a lot of times, was because I didn't want to get accustomed to living off money that I couldn't maintain. I couldn't see a large picture in being management. And then the other excuse that I made is that I didn't want to be indebted to this company because now I'm trapped here. I have these goals of going to school, although I'd never finished. I had, the dream was bigger than the reality. And every excuse that I gave myself was, oh, well, now if I'm giving 45, 50 hours of myself to this company, then when it comes time for me to do the things that I really want to do, I'm not going to be able to do them because I'm in debt to this company. So when I was working at Macy's and the multiple times I was offered upward mobility there, no, I don't want to take it because I don't want to I want to still have the freedom and flexibility to do what I want. Common sense didn't tell me, like, bro, you go into management, you get good vacation time, get health insurance. You get all these different things and your earnings go up so you can live a better quality standard of life. That didn't kick in until, as you stated earlier, till I had a family.
Mm-hmm.
Now when a wife and child come into play, it's just like, oh yeah, man, 40 G's? That ain't gonna do it.
No.
That ain't gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the question of the day is, why men do what they do? Why do we do what we do, man? Why do we do what we do?
Again, man, the list goes on, and there's no right or wrong answer as to what a man is doing, what he do in his walk to get to where he trying to go. Like,
Talk about that walk.
I mean, that walk is, and you talked about some of it with the, battling demons with the drinking and the smoking and the drugs and uh the couch surfing because you just can't seem to get yourself stable. You're not mentally there. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, like where you feeling like you can't get a leg up, or uh the BS, dead end jobs, because you don't necessarily, or you felt that you didn't have the available funds to put yourself through a higher level of education, where, I do got to give big data, big tech a shout out for this, is that they gave us so much access to so much information that you can learn any new skill or anything that you want to know pretty much at the click of a button. You know what I'm saying? Type in and search, and you can
Shout
learn
out to
anything to now.
shout out to Coursera and Skillshare. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, shout out to those guys because I've learned a lot of very valuable information off of there. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're not a paid
Uh,
sponsor, by the way.
yeah, Coursera, Skillshare, Webinar Jam. Google even has their own stuff. Like, dude, it's a lot. So I think that, and I believe we spoke about it the last show where we was talking about, having a mind, the mindset and drive to want to do better. And I know a lot of it has to do with a lot of environments that a lot of people grew up in, where it's like, I don't see people around me, you know what I'm saying, successful. So I don't see me being that or anything like that. And it's like, man, we really, really, really gotta change the way we think if we want to change our outcomes and change the results that we're looking for, or obtain the results that we're looking for. So every man's walk is different, and why they do what they do, from getting it out the mud to your stomach touching your back to, I'm trying to be on the Forbes list. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever is driving that man, that is what's going to set him along this path of doing what it is that he needs to do or try to do, or position himself with other people, or put himself in different situations to where he can obtain different opportunities or whatever to try to propel himself along. That's why we do what we do.
So story time. So I know I've told this story a few times, but I ain't telling an extraordinary man. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna break down a little bit about what got me to a place to where I realized, well, I guess you say the click, the aha moment, if you will. COVID-19. I made a series of error-filled decisions leading up into COVID-19. All I know is that the economy started to shut down. Everything around me, the walls are starting to close in. Kids are not being homeschooled. And I had already made a huge financial error in everything. Drastically shorted the family income. And with that, I sat here and I looked at it and said to myself, like, okay, you got to do something. So in the slow but steady rebuild, I found myself working 2 jobs at the same time. And within those 2 jobs I was working, I'm full-time over here and I'm full-time over here. And when I looked at my paycheck, I didn't have enough to cover my rent working 2 full-time jobs. Couldn't afford it. Maxed out my credit cards trying to cover rent. Everything literally just went downhill. And one of the worst feelings in the world is when you have to explain to your significant other about how you keep telling them you got it, knowing in the back of your head that you don't got it. And when that moment that the sin finally reached, and you got to have that uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
On top of that,
I know what that conversation felt like.
whew, that was not like the look in their eyes when that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. But you take it a step further than that. I have an uncle that passed away from pancreatic cancer.
Mm.
I just seen him at my other uncle's wedding down here shortly before he passed away. All of a sudden now, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, now mind you, me and this uncle were not very close. We didn't have beef, but we wasn't very close. But at the same time, I started thinking about my grandfather. Started thinking about my other uncles. Started thinking about certain attributes of life to where it's like the disease, the drugs, the alcohol, the different things that were just kind of a culmination of what was going on in my family tree. And I realized that the male mortality in my family is not that high. We don't have a whole lot of 70-plus-year-old men in my family tree. Now, mind you, there could be some contributing factors. Obviously, we all know that the food is killing us. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. We all know that the drinking and drugging and stuff like that ain't no good for you. It is what it is. But regardless of the factors, I have to look at the average of the lifespan of the men in my family. And it started really making me think about it that at 34 years old, I caught a gut punch. I'm working overnight at this cleaning service, and I'm over here cleaning this bar, and I just get angry. I'm just like fueled up, I'm upset with life. And the reason why I'm so upset with life is because I'm sitting here looking at it like, yo, if this man lived to be 68, and at 68, I'm 34, which means that if the gene pool is true, I'm at the 50% mark of my life. And I ain't done. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it, what I got in the bank, my level of education, what I'm doing to earn a living. Like, when they talk about that rock bottom, I was as low as I could possibly be at that time. I could not project myself any lower than where I was, because I really had a chance to look at myself and see the truth about myself rather than seeing the belief of who or what I was. And that's where the bill came back. That's when everything started to come back into play. And that's when I had the conversation, say, hey man, I'm going back to school, dog. Let me go finish this degree. Because I don't like the fact that the highest earning money that I had, I was only able to make it at one place. And that when I got back out here in the regular world, ain't nobody paying that.
Mm-hmm.
So my lifestyle, the very thing that I said for the reason why I didn't want to go into any upward mobility management positions, ultimately became my fate, to where I got accustomed to living off that money. So I had the uncomfortable conversation with myself and said, go back to where you was and go back and go get that money again. But now you have a purpose behind why you're doing it. You finna use this thing to transition over into where you really want to be. I had to figure out, what did I want to be? What was I good at? What was something that I would like to dedicate my life to in this current day that I know that I could excel at, that I know I could also make some money in? And that's what this current walk has been all about. I tell y'all this story because I didn't get it until I was 34. Just 3 years ago, I was pushing a mop across a floor in downtown Orlando for $12 an hour.
I think what's so most important about the walk is that we don't know where the walk is going to lead us, and you have to be open-minded enough and be willing to pivot and take that journey down that path. Like, when I started with fixing game consoles, and I'm gonna date myself. I started probably around when the 360 was booming. 360 was the hot thing on the market. I think PlayStation 3 was out. But I started fixing game consoles, and then started fixing computers, cell phones, and all that before Apple locked you out of being able to get parts and fix them. But
Shut
I
up,
didn't
Zach.
know, but I didn't know that, what I'm saying, those many years ago to now, 12, 13, 14 years later, that that would lead me into working in the construction industry. Like I had no idea that they even went hand in hand, but they do. I had no idea that I was gonna start doing uh, digital signage installations. Like you just don't know, but you have to be. First of all, we said it before, you have to upskill. So you have to continuously learn. Like just because you're great at concrete, what I'm saying, that don't mean that you can't start being great at granite and doing countertops and sinks and whatever and all that. So you got to upskill so that when opportunities do start to arise, you can actually transition and start taking that path. You know what I'm saying? Like the highway has a billion exits. You don't know which one you're gonna get off on that's gonna lead you somewhere else. But you got to upskill to be able to do that, and you got to be open minded. So, like I said, I had no idea fixing game consoles was gonna lead me into construction. I had no clue, or lead me into contract fulfillment. I had no idea, but you have to be open minded enough to pivot, and you have to be willing to learn a skill, and sometimes be willing to learn a skill on the fly. The very first time that I installed security cameras, I ain't gonna lie to you, dog. I got the job one day. I think I only had like maybe like 3 days to prepare. So I got the job. I won the bid. I spent 2 days binging YouTube on anything and everything there was to know about installing security cameras. That third day came, knocked it out the park. But it was the fact that I took a chance because I knew how to run cable. You know what I'm saying? Because I was in the telecommunications industry. So the fact that I felt confident in knowing how to run cable, and I was into computers and all that, and I knew how to set up cameras. I just never installed them. But the fact that I did have a little bit of knowledge, which you got to upskill, that I felt confident enough to take on that whole entire job. And the fact that I knew that I had YouTube behind me to teach me how to do it, I felt confident enough to do it. So, but I took the leap and went for it, knocked it out the park, and it was great. But I think the you have to build up your confidence, and you have to be willing to pivot on your journey to go where you need to go, because you honestly don't know. You just don't know. Right now, you don't know where uh your degree is going to take you. Your degree is in this, but you don't know what other industry that pops up that your degree is going to be useful in. You may end up at the NFL with your degree. You have no idea, but you have to be open minded enough to take that walk and to pivot and to accept different opportunities that come your way. That's not to say accept everything. Every opportunity is not your opportunity. You know what I'm saying? But as long as you continue to put yourself in position to receive opportunities, you're gonna be straight.
I couldn't agree more with that assessment. It's funny because like I actually see how that plays out into the lives of people around me all over the place. And there's situations that many of us are in that you didn't necessarily look. Say you look for pets, not for what you did because you did it. Not exactly sure what that means.
I'm not looking. I think you mean pats on the back. If that's what you mean, I'm not looking for pats on the back either. And I don't think that. I think a lot of. I'm gonna use the word high value here. I don't think that a lot of high value individuals that finally gain an understanding of why they're here and what their purpose is. I don't think that they're necessarily doing what they're doing for pats. They're doing what they're doing because they're doing it, because they have to. That's their desire. That's what's on their mind. That's what's in their heart. That's what's in their soul. And that's what's burning. Okay, paths. when you. I'm still finna finish my thought. Uh, somebody, an extraordinary man is not looking for pats on their back because they're doing what they're doing, or they're finally making strides into what they're doing. Are they fantastic? Yes, but we know that there's always more to improve. You know, we finished the goal, we accomplished the goal, and now we hungry. What's next? What am I finna knock out next? What goal am I gonna reach next? All right, I'm finna build. I'm finna build a car. All right, boom, did that. Shit, hell, now I'm finna build a plane. Okay, did that. Now I'm finna build a rocket ship. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It started. I'm finna build a house out of mud. I'm finna build a house out of sticks. Now I'm finna build it out of this. Now I'm finna build a double decker house. Now I'm finna build a basement. Now we build skyscrapers. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody had the vision to what's next? What can I build next? You know, and you just look out in the world, look at society, you'll see. You know, we started with the big ginormous fat back TVs to the old school big giant floor models to now we got TVs that weigh no more than a bag of bread. Like we just kept elevating. What's next? How can we improve this? How can we make this better? You know, it's gotten to the point where people can now mount 75 inches by themselves because the TVs are so light. So
All right. So, in regard to why we do what we do, I know that I've had several transitions that have led me into this place, even to even create this space for the extraordinary men, where we have these conversations and we talk about these things and we go live to have these conversations. What we've been doing is culminating the last 30 something odd years of our lives and then turning around and putting that into a social media space and sharing it with people, getting them to the understanding of the fact that the world is a lot more alike than it is separate. And there are certain things that do apply within the realm of universal truths. One thing is that a man ain't gonna get nothing that he don't put himself out there to get. Another one of them is that if you desire something, you have to put in the work. There is no getting around it. There's no complaining your way to the top. There's no trying to figure. It might even be the top. It's like just getting in the door. The whole thing is the fact that in the realm of the world that I live in, it's life is predicated off of the premise of getting an opportunity. I bust my behind to get an opportunity. The outcome is not guaranteed. Hell, the opportunity isn't guaranteed. But you don't get a chance to show what you're made of, like you just gave with the camera example. You decided that you wanted to transition into something else. You got the opportunity. So you could have went in there blind and completely fumbled it and so forth, and that could have just been the end of it.
oh yeah,
Or you
right.
could have took the route that you took, binged what you were doing, and then turned around and became great at it. Now, after doing it over and over and over again, learning the different components and stuff, the closed circuits, the different type of boxes, what the industry standard was, what the regulatory system was as far as what the government is requiring that you have in closed circuit television. When you get yourself involved in something, you're only going to go as high as you desire to be in that thing. But the whole thing is that we're trying to get opportunities. When opportunity meets the road, does the skill set accommodate so that there can be a perfect marriage when they finally meet?
Mm.
Does the basketball player never go to practice, never do anything, and just say, oh, don't worry, I'll just go Allen Iverson. I'll just go figure it out when I get there? Or do you actually spend all day, every day developing your technique so the day that you do get your opportunity, if that day comes, that you'll be able to show and prove? I think that when we have that moment, and I like to know more about guys who finally had that moment. If you have not had that moment in your life, when it comes,
You talking about that aha moment?
I guess you would call it the aha moment, or you could call it, just the revelation. You could call it whatever term you want to use it. Just that moment that something clicks inside of your head to say, I need to be doing something else. I need to be moving in a different direction because clearly this ain't what it is.
You know what? And going back to what I said before, every opportunity ain't for you. You need to know to pivot or be willing to pivot. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying, you start going down a path and you think that's what you want to do or what you should do, and it's really not. And sometimes we get wrapped up and so deep into it that we start to, dig this hole or we start to sink deep into it. And a lot of ways to get out of that hole is to simply just stop digging. Just stop. And I say that to say this, like a real, easy to follow philosophy or whatever you want to call it. A lot of YouTubers, they build multiple channels before they really figure out what it is they need to do or what route they need to go to finally get one that pops and it hits. And this guy over here he started a gaming channel, that didn't work. He started a cooking channel, that didn't work. He started a channel in the manosphere that finally popped. Like you got to know, like, I guess have timestamps if that will help you. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm gonna give this all a solid year, and if it don't pop in a year, then I'm gonna try this. Then I'm gonna give my all 110% into it for a whole year, and then I'm gonna try this. Like, you have to know when to stop digging to know when the opportunity is just not your opportunity, and you're not driving yourself insane, and you getting all in the slump. Like, man, ain't nothing working. You feeling like you can't get ahead and all that. Just know when it's time to stop, and know when the opportunity is not yours.
That's a good philosophy. With that, I have I remember when I learned that some opportunities were not my opportunities. And when I got down here to Florida, and as we talked about the time that I spent working in the hip hop scene and stuff, when I started really delving into where things were going, I had to make a conscious decision. Like, dude, you got a family, and you got this nightlife thing. It's like you ask yourself, like, are you torn between two lovers? You want to be out here doing, such as you just want to be out in the street. You want to be with your camera. You want to be at all the parties. You want to be wherever. You get invited everywhere. You get to go everywhere. You get in everywhere for free. You got a name in the street. Man, it feels good as a high. Mm-hmm. But then on this side, you got a family that they don't see you. They don't get no quality time with you. It's putting a strain on you. Everybody always wondering, are you okay? What's going on with you? Where you at? How's everything? It's like you want to try to convince this side that this is good, but this is taken away from this. And at a certain point in time, you got to come to the realization, like, you can't serve two masters.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
You can't serve two masters. You got to make a decision. So my decision was that family had to come first. So I completely pushed this off to the side, to the burner, and just let it crash and burn. And if you ask me today, do I regret that decision? Absolutely not. You know why I don't regret that decision? Because the tools that I acquired doing what I did there, I was able to transition to do this here. But I'm in a better mental space. I'm in a better financial space, better relationship space. I'm all around the board. I'm in a better place than I was at that time when I was trying to balance things out. But I didn't have those tools to learn how to balance, how to do things in moderation, how to, your favorite term, manage time. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to separate those two things. And now that I've acquired the skills necessary to learn how to separate these lives, or even how to incorporate them to make it to where I'm not taking away from one to do the other. Like, I talk about my family life here. I talk about my experiences here. I use this space to use the things that I did right and the things that I did wrong, and I share these things outward. But also, it's someplace to where when my children look at the blueprint of the transitions that I've made, they can go back to the music and see who I used to be 15 years ago. They can come to the podcast and find out who I was as I started gathering, as I started becoming who I am today. So there's a whole biography of my philosophies, of my faults, of my good times, my bad, and everything that's available for them to learn to say, hey, here's my dad. Here's all of him. Not the version that he tries to let people see, but there it is. It's all out there on the table.
It is.
Let's get into these comments. Look, a single man will do whatever he feels is better for him, but a head of a family will do anything and everything to put his family ahead while keeping him in the back end for his desires. It's called discipline, my man. Somebody who has nothing to lose don't have restrictions. But when you do have something to lose, you tend to curb your indulgences.
Mm-hmm.
You think about risks or taking the risks, and what do they mean? Not necessarily to me, but to the people around me. That if I'm a single man with $100,000 and I say, hey man, I'm gonna go to Vegas and I'm gonna go blow 50,000 of it. Okay. But then if I'm gonna go take the family pot, that same 50,000 mean a whole lot more when you got kids that's almost college age, and you got student loans and a house note and car notes and various other things. It just ain't the same.
You would hope for, one that they look at it like that. But when you got those that's out here and they willing to put the Rolex up and put the house up and put the car keys up at a gambling table, What else we got? Despite what you put in, know when to fold your hand and try again in another direction. Exactly, and that's why I use the YouTube analogy, because I didn't say completely stop doing YouTube. Just try a different route. You make it work, but you got to figure out what works exactly for you in that realm, in that world. Absolutely.
And I think that, like, many times, like as you use the example of the of how your business transitioned from the gaming consoles to the contract fulfillment, construction, and various other things that it led into, is that when you start looking at the reason why you do what you do, why did you start working on gaming consoles in the first place?
I've always been a gamer. I've always had an infatuation of how technology worked. Like how do you make that thing do the thing that it does? I've always been a tinker, cracking open radios. I pissed my dad off so bad. I broke apart the refrigerator. Keep in mind, I don't know anything about refrigerant. This is dangerous chemical stuff. I had no idea. But the refrigerator's broken apart because I want to know how in the world does it keep our food cold? How? You know what I'm saying? It's just one itty bitty small tiny cord that plugs into the wall. But how does this ginormous box work from that one little cord? How does it work? What regulates this, and how does it, you know what I'm saying? So I've always been that way, but I think I was drawn to game consoles more simply because I was just a huge gamer and I just wanted to know how that worked. So started fixing those. I started understanding diodes, started understanding circuitry, started understanding soldering, and it just clicked. It just clicked. What was the second part of the question?
There wasn't a second part of the question.
Oh, okay. But that's my story, dude. I was a tinker. You know, every if it was an electronic and it came my way, it got ripped. It got
Well,
broke down.
well, and that's one thing for the men that are watching this, and for the women who are with men that are watching this. For the men particularly, there's a reason why you do what you do. No matter what the situation is, you might be passionate about something and you want to explore it. You may be dealing with trauma, and what you do is based on a trauma response. You may just be a go-getter at heart. You just after whatever it is that you're after. You know, you may just be lost because you've always seen the wrong way to do it, and or you're just curious. Whatever the circumstances are, there's something that drives you to do whatever it is that you do on a consistent basis. Now, the question is identifying why you do what you do. Because one of the easiest ways to fall off a course is to not recognize when you're on one. The reason why I was in and out of college so many times is because I didn't have a clear direction. I'm just going. I hate my job, so I go back to school. I get to a wall in my life circumstance and I go back to school, take a couple of classes, and I'm out again.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have a clear direction, so I never prioritized finishing. It's just that it was a response to the anger that I felt about not having access to the things that I wanted. Like realistically, if I had access to the type of money that I wanted, I wouldn't care about credit cards. I don't care about anything. If I can go buy the house that I want cash, I don't care about credit. I don't care about it. If I can go buy all the things that I want with cash, I don't care about having an 800 credit score. It doesn't matter to me if I had enough cash to just go and do what I wanted. It means nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, it's like if you're in a situation to where you have access to everything that you want and you don't necessarily have to work for it, then what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do with it? You're going to try to figure something else out because eventually you're going to get bored with what you have access to. Eventually your desires are going to take you someplace else. So understanding why you do is essential. It's very essential to understand why you do things. To actually ask yourself the questions. It's like, why do I get up and work this job every day? Why do I put up with these things that I don't particularly like? What have I convinced myself? Did I really convince myself a while ago that I'm just supposed to endure it because it's part of being a man, or it's part of my life, or it's part of what my story is, that I'm just supposed to take it? Like, why do you do it?
That's part of a normal man's story. We just endure. That's just what we do.
Yeah. And again, that is something that is inherently taught. I think that the men who master things are the men who have an understanding of why that is. Because yes, you endure, but what is your endurance based upon?
Mm-hmm.
Are you just doing because you do, or are you doing because there's a greater purpose behind what you're doing?
Yeah, I want to spin a block real quick. I don't need to add no sauce to the ribs, but I do want to make sure that the rack on the grill is appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
You said, "Oh God, I had the comment that you just said
Post-it
in
notes,
my
brother.
mind."
Post-it notes.
You know what? God invented the replay.
What do we got here? Say you endure for your values, what's important to you, things you cherish that are held or higher than the rest. Actually, that is true and false at the same time. Because some people get up every day and they do the same thing every day and they really just have no purpose. They merely exist. They have not developed a purpose for themselves or identified a purpose for themselves, and they just get up and do. There are people in that very office that you work with that they have no idea why they're there. They are unhappy in almost every aspect of their lives, and they really truly don't know why they're there or what they do. They just do because it's Tuesday, because it's Wednesday, because in their mind they just convince themselves of what they're supposed to do, but they're just hamsters in a wheel. The hamsters in a cage.
And they fine with that.
Not even so much that they're fine with that. It's just that it's satisfying the immediate needs, so there's no need to think deeper.
They satisfied with that. I've actually when I was working, um, when I was doing the ATMs,
Mm.
and I had the contract with Wally World. That's Walmart, if you don't know.
Everybody know what Wally World is.
Okay,
man.
I just wanted to make sure.
Everybody know what Wally World
I'm just
is.
making sure.
They know what Wally World is. They know what Tarjay is. We know already. Go ahead.
All right, so I had the contract with Wally World, and they got this ginormous machine in the back. That's where all the cashiers, get their money from and all this and that. So I'm fixing the machine, talking with the manager, and the manager said that she pretty much love it because she has no desire. This is almost verbatim, you know what I'm saying? Almost. I'm not interested of running a business, you know what I'm saying, starting any type of clothing line, doing nothing, you know what I'm saying, insert whatever here. She's cool where she at because they tell her what to do and she just go do that thing. There are people that are satisfied with that, bruh. They cool with being on the hamster wheel. A lot of people have to have, and they live with, okay, Walmart gave me my schedule. They don't schedule Walmart around them. They don't schedule their job around them. They schedule them around the job.
Well, that's called structure.
And they like that.
That's called structure. Some people like structure. Some people are not self-disciplined to create structure for themselves. So they like being in a situation where the structure is there. You have to understand that we have been conditioned since young to get up, be someplace at a certain time, to open up a book, to read at a certain time, to go to gym and play around for so long, to eat lunch for a certain period of time, to hop on and off the bus or to walk to and from the schoolhouse at such and such time, this many days a week. And we have been conditioned, primed for about 13 years of our early learning development lives to get up every day and to do a repetitive thing. You have to understand that it's like you have never been trained to be independent. That is something that you broke free and decided. Those who could not acclimate into the traditional school system may not have been the goof-offs that they got portrayed as. They just may have been the independent thinkers who the traditional school system did not accommodate them.
I'm perfectly fine with structure. I love structure.
Well, what I'm saying is
But I love structure that, to your point, I created. It's my structure.
What I'm saying is that in many situations, because we transition right out of this to something else, you go straight from the schoolhouse to the workhouse, or schoolhouse to the college to the work. It's just a continuous, you've been primed to do this for this many years. So you've already been conditioned on the structure and the flow of getting up, being someplace on time, being accountable for this, and this, so that you can go over here and go do the same thing. So for some people, I would just say majority of people, we've been raised pretty much to be cattle.
Agreed.
That's it.
Agreed.
It's like since you was a kid, your parents start cattle prodding you, and then they handed you off to the job, and now your manager and supervisor is cattle prodding you. Then somebody telling you that you need to buy a house. You need to have a kid. You're getting cattle prodded your whole life, and then somehow you think that it was your idea. You need to own this kind of car. You need to do this kind of thing. You need to
The
have this kind.
sheepdog, the sheepdog is steering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're being led into a direction your whole life. It's like you're never actually really thinking for yourself, because to think for yourself would cause you to do some unscrupulous things. Even the criminal is a puppet, just a puppet of the counter of what is legal and not legal. But nonetheless, it's just like you have to take into consideration that it's not a matter of somebody liking it. It's the fact that you have not identified that you are on a hamster wheel. You may not even know. You get in your car and you drive the same distance to and from the job. You go to the same gas stations. You go to the same grocery stores. You meet the same grocery clerks. You do the same things every day.
And then sometimes you never leave your environment, because the same people that was working in that store when your mama or daddy was bringing you there, now you bring in your kids there, and that same person is older, still working there.
Because their life, their hamster wheel accommodates them being in that same repetitive motion. That's why communities are what communities are. Because you there, you raise your kids get brought up there, they take over the family house or whatever the situation is, and it's a cyclical nature that it continues to grow. This is what a society is. It's the fact that everybody does something that contributes back into the flow of keeping that community alive. So somebody has to take over at that grocery store chain once this person right here retires. And it's more than likely going to be your teenager who this their very first job.
Yep.
So
get back into these comments real quick, man, because we had almost 2 minutes over an hour, but we finna, you know what I'm saying, make sure that we recognize these comments.
Put some sauce in them ribs, man.
Yeah. She said, maybe I think too much of people. You know what, Ashley? That's actually a kryptonite of mine. You know, I really think too much of people too. I really feel that everybody has a superpower. Well, for those that actually show me something, or I feel some type of energy off of you, I ain't gonna say everybody, but I think that for the most part, I think everybody does have some type of purpose, some type of skill, some type of superpower, something. You know, it's a lot of people that I come across, like, you know what I'm saying, you pushing carts, but man, you know what I'm saying, you tall as hell. You just walk to the rim and lay the ball in. Or, you know what I'm saying, man, you working at GNC, but you swole, but you could be on the cover of Muscle magazine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see a lot of things that other people could be doing, but it's like they don't see it in themselves. Like, dude, you could start your own fitness channel. Like, you swole as hell. Or, dude, you the greatest mechanic. You broke down this whole car, put it back together in literally 48 hours. You should be building cars at NASCAR, or for some company to have at NASCAR. You know what I'm saying? So that's just me. I just think too much of people. I think highly of people, and it is a problem, because my level of disappointment, I don't know. I just get disappointed a lot, because I see so much potential that's not going anywhere. You have the voice. You have the voice of a goddess, but you out here stealing cars. Like,
I mean, I think that one of the biggest mistakes that we make in this life is that we assume that the idea that we project on people is somehow the right idea. And I think that we have this this foolish thought of other people's potential, because just like I may hear your voice and think like, man, you have the greatest voice ever, you should sing. But then somebody on the other side say, hey, you're really skinny and stuff like that, you should be a clothes model. But he's telling me I should sing. My journey may have nothing to do with what your idea is. I may be stealing these cars because that's a part of my story.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so therefore it's like there's like the self-inflicting disappointment. My only disappointment comes when somebody who is selling me something does not deliver. So it's not because of the
What?
fact.
Wait, no. Explain that. Explain that.
So for instance, I'm not going to judge you off of what I think about you. I'm going to judge you off of demonstrated performance. So therefore, if you tell me that you want to sing and then the opportunity is made available for you and then you fumble the ball because of your inconsistency or your inability to see the larger picture, that's where my disappointment comes from. It's based off action that you actually involved in. I don't care if I think that you sing great. If you're not actually trying to pursue singing, I could care less about your potential. I won't waste my time to even think about it because of the fact that if you do or you don't, it doesn't change my life in any bit. But if I become invested in what you say that you want to do in some regard and you drop the ball, then that's where my disappointment comes in because I see what you could be doing because you're actively doing it, but you're not taking it as serious as you could. Like without saying names and stuff, the guy that was working with you that you had to let go most recently. That is a
Hmm.
disappointment because I seen what you're capable of because you're doing it.
Hmm.
But you couldn't see the larger picture, but you're actively here. It's not based off what I thought you can do, it's based off what I'm watching you do. So I'm not disappointed about what I think you should be doing or what I think you could be doing that I've never actually seen you do. I'm watching you and I know the growth that you could have if only you could see the larger picture in this thing that you're actually doing. But if you have a limited view of this thing that you're actually doing, that hurts. That hurts because there's a clear path to get to the end of the road for that thing that you're actually doing.
I hear you loud and clear. Uh, will it be something to that I got to work on? And is it going to be hard to break? Yeah, you know what I'm saying, because I do think that people are special, humans are special, being a human period is special. And the things that I have seen people do. I mean, just look at Cirque du Soleil and all these other type of stuff. You know, Mayweather. You know, uh, Jay Z. Seeing these individuals and what I'm saying, seeing how far that you can push yourself. I just can't just ball it up and just throw that feeling out. I can't do that. I like to see people succeed, excel. Uh, we're gonna have unfortunate events. It's part of life. It is what it is. Unlucky days. It is what it is. But for the most part, I would like to see people excelling at a skill that they have, a talent that they have, uh, whatever it is. I just want to see it. I mean, we talked about crocheting with Ashley. If crocheting is something that you are awesome at, I want to see crochet.com. Buy my hats, buy my sweaters, buy my socks. Because if that's what you're fantastic at, then do that. Otherwise, the skill of crocheting is for nothing.
I don't think so because you don't have to have a gaming channel, but playing Apex Legends is a stress reliever for you. And it helps you to be more proficient in other areas of your life because it helps you to decompress. You don't have to make money off of it or turn it into a business at all. So if that's what crocheting is for her, it helps her to be able to decompress so that she can actually be successful in the other areas of her life. And this is her stress relief or her point to where she can actually decompress. Then yeah, no, I disagree greatly with you.
Well, we just gonna have to agree to disagree because your skill should I feel that your skill should be able to be shared. It should be able to be seen. You should be able to be recognized for it. Um, if you were blessed with the ability to play the flute and you then went through all these different classes or teachers and you the bomb as hell on the flute, we should be able to hear you play the damn flute. You know, I think that's pretty fantastic. And you should share that. That's just my opinion. You know, I was the bomb at fixing phones. You can go back to my Facebook page, my actual personal page, and you will see 100+ videos of me fixing phones,
Mhm.
camera on my hands, fixing a phone because I loved it. I had the skill and I shared it. That's just me. That's just me. You don't have to follow, my footsteps, but I think that if you are blessed to do something and you have the ability to do so, pretty sure the world wants to see it.
It's a philosophy. You're not wrong. At the end of the day, it's like everything is based in the eyes of the beholder. And
Hmm.
I feel like most things, people have to come to the determination if their journey accommodates that philosophy.
Overstood.
But anyway,
Overstood.
guys, we gave y'all 11 extra minutes because we love y'all that much. Right now, I know Midas is being cursed out. She got the hatchet right now, looking at you like it's
What?
time to put these kids to bed.
She came down twice. Dinner ready.
All right, guys. First and foremost, thank you guys as always for tuning to the Extraordinary Man Podcast, the Extraordinary Man Podcast, the official podcast for extraordinariest of men all across the planet. Y'all know me,
Hmm.
Phil Jones, Mike Jones. Have you know me personally, professionally, and you know who he is. What's your name again?
Man. No, I'm playing. It's Midas. Make sure you put a king in front of that. Let's go. Like,
All
share,
right,
subscribe,
guys.
click the bell on the YouTube channel.
And as
Peace.
y'all know, we will be here live in effect tomorrow morning. When we get here tomorrow morning, remember, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, 10 a.m. Central. Please make sure you guys tune in if you guys will be available that early. If you're not available that early, catch the replay on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and various other social media websites. We appreciate you guys all the time for showing up, for tuning in, for letting us know that you guys are engaged in our content on a regular basis. Share with a friend. If your mother speak English, we will transcript it. Whatever you need, we got it for you. Thank you guys as always. Peace.